Welcome back to my channel, Warth Old Coins. Today is best top 3 coins. One you want to miss where? Diving into the world of Canada coins. Please don't skip this video, so let's get it started. Top 1. The 2004 Canadian 5-cent nickel coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II. Here's a detailed version, suitable for a 5-minute read. The full history of the 2004 Canada 5-cent coin, nickel background, of the Canadian nickel. Canada's 5-cent coin, commonly called the nickel, has a rich history that dates back to 1858, when the province of Canada issued its first decimal coins. Originally made of silver, the coin transitioned to nickel in 1922, marking Canada's place as a major global supplier of nickel at the time. The modern nickel, as we know it today, with a beaver on the back, was introduced in 1937. And this iconic design remains in use, including on the 2004 issue. The 2004 coin's key features obverse, front, portrait of Queen Elizabeth II design by Susanna Blunt. Introduced in 2003, this version of the Queen shows her without a crown, a departure from previous designs. Elizabeth II Dig Regina, by the grace of God, Queen. Reverse, back. A beaver sitting on a log representing industriousness, a Canadian national symbol, designed by G.E. Kruger Gray, 1937. Cents. Canada and the year 2004 edge, smooth, plain, composition, 2004. 94.5% steel, 3.5% copper, 2% nickel plating, weight, 3.95 grams, diameter, 21.2 millimeters. This change to plated steel began in 2000 to cut minting costs. The obverse evolution, Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth II first appeared on Canadian coins in 1953, and 4 main portraits were used during her reign. 53, 1964. Young Queen by Mary Gillick. 65, 1989. More mature profile by Arnold Machine. 1990-2002, Elder Queen Wearing a Crown by Dora DePatery Hunt, 2003-2023, Crownless, Graceful Portrait by Susanna Blunt. The 2004 nickel is only the second year with Blunt's portrait, marking a more modern and Canadian artistic direction, minting and circulation. The Royal Canadian Mint, established in 1908, produced the 2004 5-cent coins at their Winnipeg facility. Tens of millions of these coins were struck for circulation, making them very common. They were used across the country in everyday transactions and remain in circulation today. Collectability. And variants. Most 2004 nickels are common and worth face value, 5 cents. However, collectors look for mint sets, higher quality coins, proof or specimen finish, errors, off-center strikes, doubling or planche flaws can increase value. Uncirculated grades. Coins in mint condition can be worth $0.25 to $150 CAD or more. Depending on quality and demand, some sets from 2004 include the 5-cent coin in special packaging, meant for collectors or as gifts. Legacy and importance. The 2004 Canadian nickel might seem like a small piece of metal, but it's part of a much larger story. It reflects Canada's monarchy, industrial heritage, and national symbols. It shows the evolution of minting technologies, materials, and portraiture. It connects everyday Canadians to their history and identity in their pockets and cash drawers. Summary. The 2004 Canadian 5-cent coin is more than just spare change. It's a piece of Canadian numismatic heritage featuring a new modern portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by a Canadian artist, a classic beaver design loved since 1937, a metal composition change for economic reasons, a story that reflects the nation's monarchy, nature, and minting innovation. Top 2. The 1998 Canadian 5-cent coin, featuring Queen Elizabeth II. Full history of the 1998 Canada 5-cent coin, nickel background of the Canadian 5-cent coin. Canada's 5-cent coin has evolved significantly since its first issue in 1858 under British rule. Originally struck in silver, it transitioned to nickel in 1922, making Canada the first country to issue a coin using pure nickel. This change was not only practical but symbolic, as Canada was one of the world's top nickel producers. In 1937, the 5-cent coin adopted its now iconic beaver design, created by George Edward Kruger Gray, which has been used almost continuously ever since, including in 1998. The 1998 coin's physical details denomination, 5 cents. Year, 1998, metal composition, 75% copper, 25% nickel. Pure nickel coins were used up to 1999. Weight, 4.54 grams. Diameter, 21.2 meter. Edge, plain, smooth. This coin was struck from cup-row nickel, not steel, just before the Royal Canadian Mint began shifting to plated steel coins in 2000 to save on costs. Obverse design, Queen Elizabeth II portrait. The obverse features the third effigy of Queen Elizabeth. Our artist, Dora de Pedery Hunt, a Hungarian-Canadian sculptor. Introduced. This portrait was introduced in 1990 and used until 2002. Description: it shows the Queen wearing a tiara and facing right. Elizabeth II dig Regina, Latin for Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. Dora de Pedery Hunt was the first Canadian artist to design a Queen's portrait for Canadian coinage. Reverse design, the beaver design, a beaver sitting on a log, water flowing beneath. Symbolism: the beaver symbolizes diligence, hard work, and Canada's fur trade history. Designer: G.E. Kruger Gray, 1937. Cents, Canada, the year 1998. A maple leaf flanking each side of the denomination. Production and circulation. The 1998 5-cent coin was struck in large quantities for circulation. It was minted by the Royal Canadian Mint, primarily in Winnipeg. These coins were widely used in daily transactions and are still found in circulation today, though less so since Canada stopped using the penny in 2013. Collectability and value. Most 1998 nickels are common and hold only face value unless in mint or near-perfect condition. Variants. Business. Strike, regular, common. Face value, 0.5, uncirculated mint sets. Higher quality may sell for 0.25 on proof-like or specimen sets. High-end finish for collectors, potentially worth more errors. Rare minting errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, etc., can be valuable. To collectors, the coin does not have any widely known rare variants in 1998, but pristine condition examples are always more desirable to collectors. Significance in Canadian coin. History. The 1998 5-cent coin is notable because it was one of the last nickels made from the traditional cupro nickel alloy before the transition to plated steel. It features the third effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, just a few years before the switch to the Susanna Blunt portrait in 2003. It represents a turning point in Canadian coinage, from traditional heavy metals to cost-saving modern alternatives. Summary. Feature detail, obverse, Queen Elizabeth. 2. Dora de Pedery Hunt, tiara, reverse beaver on log, Kruger Gray design. Metal composition, 75% copper, 25% nickel. Year, minted 1998. Mintage high, millions. Common face value, 5 cents. CAD collector value. 0.05, 1 to 0 plus. Condition dependent. Top 3, the 1979 Canadian 5-cent coin, nickel, featuring Queen Elizabeth II. Full history of the 1979 Canada 5-cent coin, a legacy of the Canadian nickel. The Canadian 5-cent coin, known as the nickel, has a long history tied to the country's industrial development and wildlife symbolism. First introduced in 1858, the coin originally contained silver, but shifted to pure nickel in 1922, a point of national pride, as Canada was one of the world's leading nickel producers. By 1979, the 5-cent coin had long featured the beaver, an animal strongly linked to the fur trade and Canadian heritage. Physical characteristics, 1979. Denomination, 5 cents. Metal composition, 100% nickel. Weight, 4.54 grams. Diameter, 21.2 meter. Thickness, 1.76 millimeter. Edge, plain, smooth. Mint, Royal Canadian. Mint, Ottawa. The 1979 nickel was still made from solid nickel. Just before rising metal prices in the 1980s began a shift in composition, obverse. Queen Elizabeth II portrait features. Queen Elizabeth II wearing a tiara designer, Arnold Machine, a British sculptor portrait period used from 1965 to 1989. Elizabeth II Digi Regina, Latin for Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. This design presents a young Elizabeth II and was widely used on Commonwealth coins during this era. Reverse. The beaver. Design. A beaver building a dam, sitting on a log in water designer, George Edward Kruger. Gray design. Introduced. 1937, 5 cents, Canada. 1979. 2 maple leaves flanking the denomination. The beaver has remained a constant symbol of Canadian values, hard work, nature, and resourcefulness. Historical context, 1979. Canada in 1979 saw economic and political changes, including inflation and a federal election, which led to Joe Clark becoming Prime Minister. The coinage remained stable, with no major design changes to circulating 5-cent coins. The Royal Canadian Mint continued to use nickel for durability, though it was beginning to feel pressure from rising metal costs, mintages, and circulation. Mintage. Over 82 million 5-cent coins were produced in 1979. These were widely used in circulation and are common today. They were struck at the Royal Canadian Mint in Ottawa, using high-pressure presses on solid nickel blanks. Collector information. Most 1979 nickels found in change today are worth face value unless in mint condition. Variants, business strike, regular, very common proof-like sets, higher quality. Made for collectors. Double date die errors, extremely rare, and valuable if authenticated uncirculated coins in pristine condition. Worth around $0.25, $1.50 CAD depending on grade. If you have a coin that looks unusually shiny or detailed, it could be from a mint set. Significance of the 1979 nickel. The 1979 5-cent coin is important for a few reasons. It represents the tail end of the solid nickel era, before metal cost issues changed coin production. It reflects Canada's continued loyalty to monarchic symbolism and wildlife motifs. It preserves a design that has now been in use for nearly 90 years. Summary chart feature. Details monarch Queen Elizabeth II. Tiara. By machine reverse design beaver on log. Kruger Gray. Composition 100% nickel year 1979 weight 4.54 grams mintage. 82 million value. Today 0.05 150 CAD based on condition. Thanks for watching my videos. PLZ subscribe my channel for more videos.